Hey, this is Clay Richardson, Chief Accelerator with Digital FastForward. And today, what I want to talk to you about is why it's so important to build your influence as an innovation leader. Building your influence as an innovation leader is the most critical area for you to develop. And this has the potential to pay the greatest dividends as you go to the next level in driving innovation in your organization. In our coaching program, this is the #1 challenge we hear from aspiring innovation leaders, is that they want to build more influence in their organization and be able to get their ideas and the ideas of others more adopted in their organization. Influence is not the same as convincing or manipulating. That's one of the mistakes that I hear all the time is, I want to influence, but then when we peel back, it really is more, I want to convince others to follow my path or to adopt my idea. Ultimately, building real influence is really a belief that you're in service to others. It's not about convincing, but more you're identifying what is it that others want to get? What is their benefit? And so what I want to walk you through is 3 steps to how you can build more influence as an innovation leader. When you have a big idea or an area you want to get buy-in on and influence others on, take a minute to assess, are you in convince mode or are you in influence mode? What's the difference in your mind between convince versus influence, right? In most cases, convincing is all about how can you get someone to see the world through your lens and agree with you. That's not influence, right? Influence is where you're actually able to understand what is the benefit that the other person is seeking around your idea and align the outcome you're looking for with the benefit that the other person or group wants. That's what influence is more about. It's you being in service to others, okay? So that's really the first step to amp up your influence in your organization when it comes to innovation is assess whether you're focused on convincing or are you focused on influencing. And if you are focused on convincing, make sure you take time to make that shift, right, to influence. Second is assessing what does the other person or group need to believe in order to get them to move in the direction that you think is going to have the greatest benefit. It's so critical to start stepping back and saying, let me put myself in this other person's shoes and understand, what are they believing about this situation? And what are the beliefs they would need to have to see the idea or the direction that I'm putting forward as being of benefit to them? What are your current beliefs when it comes to the idea or results you're trying to get to? But then trying to understand, well, what does the other person need to believe in order to move things forward, right? The last piece here in terms of leveling up your influence is focus on their benefits. What is the benefit that the group that you're trying to influence, what is in it for them, right? You're not going to be able to influence people if you're only focused on your benefit. I think you're hearing the theme here, right? Is to be an influencer, an influence in your organization, you got to get out of your focus on your benefits and move into the other person's focus and the other group's focus. And so this is essential in terms of making that shift. What are their benefits? And so I see this all the time. This is a big block, and particularly I see it when leaders are trying to drive a new way of thinking or get people to be comfortable thinking outside of the box. And so just to give you an example, a client that we work with, you guys have all heard this, right? Big transformation initiative. trying to drive, IT, business, all these different teams. And one group that I'm working with more on the business side was really struggling to get IT to buy into their direction. And so one of the things that we focused on is stepping back and saying, how can this group have more influence in terms of getting IT and IT leaders brought into the direction that the business wants to go in? We actually did a little exercise where we walked through at the very beginning, just getting clear on what is the direction that the business leaders want to go in and want to have IT support, right? They want to influence IT's thinking on this. Okay, well, are we in convince or influence? And realize this group was in full convince mode. Like, this is our way. IT doesn't get it. Why isn't IT getting on? IT's always like this. And we said, let's shift it to influence. And what we were able to do is step back and say, okay, in influence mode, how can we be in service to the IT leadership, right? How can the business be more in service and get aligned on, what are the benefits and opportunities that IT is seeing? What are the outcomes that IT is trying to get to? Then we step back to say, the IT leadership, what is it they would have to believe in order to influence them, in order to get more buy-in and get more collaboration? And what we realize is ultimately IT needed to believe that they were going to still be in the driver's seat. The IT was believing that they weren't going to be on the driver's seat, weren't going to be seen as an innovation partner if they didn't stay focused on the path that they had. And then that last piece, this again was the secret sauce where we sat down as a team and said, what are the benefits for the IT leadership team in terms of adopting this path that the business wanted to go on with this transformation? Once we figured that out and mapped out, put ourselves in the IT leadership shoes and actually had this conversation with IT leadership and with business, it was a game change. These seem like very simple steps. They're not easy, but this is a blueprint for you to level up your influence in your organization. By going through these steps, I want you to feel more authentic and engaged when pitching your new ideas, because you're focused on helping others realize benefits that are important to them, right? That's where that authenticity comes from. I want you to download this Innovation Influence worksheet whenever you have a big idea where you're trying to get buy-in from key stakeholders and decision makers. And this worksheet, it really is more about developing the mindset for influence. So it walks you through each one of these steps. And I use the same worksheet anytime I'm going into a big conversation where I need to have some level of influence or build influence. And it just helps me get the right mindset and the right frame so that the conversation isn't just about what I want. Using this worksheet, it turns the conversation into what is the benefit for the person that I'm serving or the group that I'm serving. And so with that, I just want to say thank you for taking time, and most importantly, just make sure every day you're taking one step ahead in leveling up as an innovation influencer.